Before we begin, viewer discretion is highly urged. The video following is meant only for educational and entertainment purposes. The following is a transcript of all federal courtroom testimony from the Sean Diddy Combs trial, as published.
Can't tell you what the situation was over. I took them to where the yacht came and picked them up at. And Pup said, I don't need no security because it was just personal friends getting on the yacht. And then I picked them up when the yacht came back. And I seen Kim nose up. And it was all around the office of everything that happened because his assistants were there and they was talking about it. He tried to say that she hit a table, but everybody in the office and everybody that was immediate around him knew exactly.
By Inner City Press. As the trial continues, Diddy's former security head, Roger Bonds, claims he witnessed Diddy mistreat Kim Porter. Journalist Daniel Smith also recalls seeing Diddy publicly humiliate Kim, turning fun nights into scenes of tension. These first-hand accounts are quickly unraveling Diddy's public image.
Knew her well enough to occasionally socialize with her. It was a last-minute girls' night. Kim Porter and some other girlfriends. And then I see Puffy come into the club. I really thought he was coming in to get. I thought he was about to into the booth. And it was about to be really about to turn up. You know?
What she describes is not just uncomfortable or chilly. He yelled at Kim if she didn't exist, telling her she didn't belong out having fun, and then, in an astonishing action, flung her purse in public like she was nothing. With no sorrow, reluctance, or obvious public indifference, it was more than just upsetting. It was an act intended to humiliate her. It wasn't passion. It was power abused and turned toxic, and Smith, like many others, is sick of pretending differently. The hush in the room, the astonishment on people's faces, and the unease in the air told it all. Diddy's actions were intended to demonstrate supremacy rather than control. In an instant.
But everything just turned on a dime. It was not a cool situation at all. He just thought to her and she should be at home, not out. And then he grabbed her handbag and literally turned it upside down. He just emptied it out in front of everybody.
The energy transformed. Diddy didn't just raise his voice, he tried to project utter authority. He yelled at Kim as if she were property rather than a partner, telling her she didn't belong out enjoying fun, and then, in an astonishing move, threw her purse in public. Like she was nothing. What Daniel Smith saw that night was psychological warfare, not physical violence. The quiet in the room, the astonishment on people's faces, and the terror in the air told it all. Diddy's actions were motivated by dominance.
I was so in shock. The reason people do things like that is just to you and make you feel small. To never saw him put a hand on her, but as we all know, that's not the only kind of.
Rather than control. Smith describes Diddy's behavior as calculated humiliation meant to assert power over Kim Porter. Though not physically violent, his actions caused deep emotional harm. Smith says no one felt safe enough to intervene, and the damage was psychological but very real. Gene Deal.
You know, his mother had a modeling, and it was also ladies of the prostituting too, or these ladies was doing things other than modeling. So the apple don't fall far from the tree.
A longtime insider suggests Diddy's behavior stems from a pattern learned early in life. He believes Diddy's mother played a key role in shaping his controlling nature, arguing that this influence was rooted in secrecy and legacy rather than ambition. Gene makes it clear that this was not taught on the streets.
I guess this is my newfound career, so I'm gonna say what's on my mind and what I think, brother. First of all, that's his mother. Wrong, indifferent, she gonna lie, steal, and protect her child. That's what she's supposed to do. But the apple don't fall far from the tree, man. You gotta realize that. You know, he didn't get all this from his daddy. because he didn't know his daddy, even though they try to say his daddy was some big time in the whole 9 yards. You understand? He didn't get this from his daddy. You gotta realize, man.
Or learned from a kingpin dad. He thinks Diddy's genuine effects stemmed from his mother, who was willing to protect her son at any cost, including lying, hiding, and protecting him. That kind of protection is not support, it is enabling, and when a child grows up witnessing control disguised as love, the pattern continues. Gene is not instigating drama. Instead, he is providing the blueprint for the behavior we see today, which has been reinforced and accepted. Gene recommends that you examine further inside the home where he grew up. Gene Deal goes even farther, entering into an area that causes people anxiety for a reason. He describes what he saw and heard that made him question not just Diddy's conduct, but also his unusual connection with his mother. At this stage, the problem is more than just influence. It also involves dysfunction. Gene recalls Diddy making,
and their relationship has changed since I knew them, since I was around them. You understand? This man was talking about that his mother could take her and over and put him down on the floor. Not over, but she could stand straight up and put up on the floor, bruh. He's saying that about his mother. Who describes any of their mother actions like that in a way? And then, you know, I don't know how many dudes do their mother and they when they 50, 60 years old or something like that. That's them, that's their whole thing, man. But that was a little kind of weird for me.
Comments about his mother's appearance that felt very off. The kind of talk no grown man should ever make about his own mother, not even jokingly. It wasn't lighthearted, it was unsettling. He's not accusing, but he's also not sugarcoating the discomfort. And then there's the closeness and gestures that just didn't seem right. Gene has dealt with numerous families in his job, but he has never seen anything like this. It wasn't just unusual, it hinted at a deeper, more profound emotional connection. Gene Deal does not mince words, and when additional charges from Cassie's lawsuit are revealed, he escalates the situation to a terrible psychological level. Gene weaves the links in ways that urge you to pause and evaluate everything. The parallels between Diddy's claimed likes and his relationship with his mother are too striking to ignore. Gene says something that raises eyebrows.
His mother wore the same white fingernail polish that Cassie described that he liked to see her and other models in when she was describing her lawsuit. And what's crazy to me is that, man, it seemed like him and his mother had this, I don't want to get too deep, man, this Oedipus complex thing. You know what I mean? And a lot of people going to say, yo, Oedipus complex.
Diddy desired Cassie and other girls to wear white nail polish, but it wasn't just a fashion decision, it was also the color his mother wore. That part stated in Cassie's complaint suddenly becomes more significant in light of Gene's statement. He referred to something more private, a psychological fixation between Diddy and his mother, and even used a term that many people avoid: an Oedipus complex. This is no longer just about parenting, it's about boundaries and deeply entrenched habits.
I'm looking at his mother and him on the couch, and both of them are getting IVs after one of the Diddy parties. Allegedly. I'm gonna say allegedly because I wasn't there and I didn't know. But they showed them both getting IVs on the couch. So my whole thing about this thing is that I'm not saying that she was ever at a off, she was ever at that type of party. But you can't tell me Miss Janice Combs, who was always at the regular parties, didn't know nothing about the off.
Gene recalls seeing Diddy and his mother both needing for drips after one of his rigorous parties. He is not accusing her of involvement, but he does emphasize that she was too near to regular and much too knowing to be ignorant. Janice wasn't some distant observer, She sat on the couch at home after the event, and these weren't just parties. These were the kinds of nights that people don't talk about openly. Gene Deal reveals another terrible piece of the puzzle. The public sees polished footage of Diddy and his mother smiling for the cameras, but Gene maintains that image is a fake. Behind the scenes, the truth is much more poisonous and cruel.
This is the same dude, bruh, that used to disrespect his mother. So I seen the love now that they have for each other only on film and camera. You know, on the YouTube or Instagram or wherever they were showing it and stuff like that. But this the same guy that Kirk Burrows once told me he his mother. And I told everybody, had I known he his mother after I told Kirk Burrows, Kirk told me after I straightened his top of mama out. His mother came in the limousine and he was on the phone and she said, yo, why don't you tell these people like that? And he just cleaned out like on some, didn't I tell you to stay out my business? And I was like, yo, I was shocked. She didn't say nothing.
According to Gene, Diddy did not treat his mother with the compassion that he now exhibits. He claims that the attachment you see on the internet is a lie. Gene recalls hearing that Diddy once degraded his own mother, which Kirk Burrell allegedly saw firsthand, and that when Gene confronted Diddy about insulting her in a limo, she said nothing but took it as normal. That silence is not calm, it is pressure. Deal not only discloses the dysfunction, but he also expresses it straight to Diddy's face, demonstrating how far things have progressed. Gene tells how he directly scolded Diddy for the way he talked to his own mother. What he said was not kind, but it served as a warning.
I said to him, I said, yo, boy, let me tell you something. If you ever cut your mama again, I'm gonna beat the shit out you. You ain't gonna bring nothing but bad luck to us treating your mama like that. So I guess he ain't treating his mama like that no more. But I don't have no qualms in her defending her son. I don't have no qualms in her defending her son. You gotta understand that, man. Miss Janice Combs been around for a long time and she's a trendsetter.
Gene told him that if he insulted his mother again, he would be examined, not just because it was wrong, but also because it sent negative energy to everything he touched. He wasn't kidding. He thought that such action produces negative energy, poor luck, and awful karma. Just when you thought the allegations couldn't get any worse, Gene Deal drops a bombshell that takes it to the next level. He delves into Diddy's underground realm, which allegedly wields terrifying power and influence. This is not party talk. It is gloomy, deliberate, and downright unpleasant.
See, what happened is this. Puff had people do things, acts, buying, right? Paying for prostitutes, paying prostitutes, paying for bringing people and people, because we now know that the was not in the baby oil, it was in the eye drops. They was putting in the eye drops. So I guess that's where they was, you know, putting in people drinks or whatever like that. But they, because, you know, it's hard to see a little eye drop thing in your hand and you just go and throw a little somebody drink or whatever like that. You ain't definitely putting nothing in nobody's eyes and say, here, take this. This is going to make you feel good. They was putting that in people drink. They found in the eye drop.
Gene claims Diddy didn't just take part. He organized everything, from purchasing the substances to paying for the rest. Nothing was left to chance. The most alarming component is that he thinks the supplements were hidden in eye drops, not baby oil, as some had previously believed. Tiny, discreet, and easy to slip into drinks without anyone noticing. That detail isn't just surprising, it's tactical, intentional, and designed to leave no trace. According to Gene, this wasn't some reckless lifestyle, it was a controlled operation. And if true, it points to something far more dangerous than just fame-fueled excess. It's cryptic planning, disguised by a celebrity culture. Gene Deal continues to investigate the unsettling specifics of what actually happened behind closed doors. And this time, he's questioning the illusion while the media and public were distracted with baby oil stories. According to Gene, the true manner of tampering was much more hidden and hazardous, but the preoccupation with images and control was genuine.
They do all kinds of stuff, bruh. And it's crazy how people never even knew that or noticed that. And they had us thinking that it was the baby oil. But they haven't said anything about the baby oil. But I just can't imagine they say he took 1,000 bottles of baby oil out of there and nothing. But they said he liked things that was real. They wanted everything to shine. He wanted everything.
Gene says people were fooled into thinking the baby oil was the key, but that was just a distraction. It was never about the oil, it was about illusion, about keeping people distracted. He points out how 1,000 bottles were found, but no real explanation was given. And according to him, Diddy wanted everything to look a certain way, shiny, staged. That's not just a vibe, it's psychological theater meant to impress and disarm. But behind the glitz, Gene claims that darker things were happening that the public was not meant to see. He's peeling back the curtain on the theatrics, uncovering a pattern of misdirection. Because in Diddy's universe, appearances were secondary to power, secrecy, and deception. Gene Deal takes the chaos from Diddy's private homes and transports it to public spaces, revealing what really happened at those so-called hotel parties. He believes it was not just strange behavior, but deliberate, according to Gene, hotel managers.
And willing to shine. They was even talking about that with the hotel manager. Yeah, that's one of the another people they brought in. They brought a guy who ran one of the hotels, and he was saying that how they use fake names, but they made a profile that we already knew that was Sean Combs. He may have used a different name every time, and then because they had to charge because it was always anywhere from $500 worth of damage to $1,000 worth of damage of all the hotels, and the people always hated cleaning it up because it was really messed up after every part.
Were called in to testify, and their tales were contentious. Diddy reportedly used aliases to book rooms, but everyone in the system knew who it was every time, ending in the same disastrous situation with costs ranging from $500 to $1,000. These were not individual incidents. They were trends, and hotel employees seemed to dislike cleaning up the aftermath because the photos were so graphic. Deal not only describes bizarre gatherings, but he draws a picture straight out of a horror film. The man says that what occurred in those hotel rooms was not only severe, but also quite uncomfortable. From artificial kiddie pools to severe heat, he portrays Diddy's surroundings as both opulent and horrible.
He was bringing tubs, like those plates that your kids grow up in because you can't afford them, like that, and filling them up with baby oil. And then, check this out, man, he would have the hotel people. You know how you can turn up the heat in the hotel, right? To 85, 90, and it'd be baking in that joint. They had to bring extra heaters to the hotel and turn them on. Yo, you can't tell me that ain't no in that man's body. Who wants it that hot? Well, you can't hardly breathe. The hotel would turn the heat up all the way and then bring extra heat.
Gene claims Diddy would bring in kiddie pools from the backyard to soak in baby oil, but that wasn't the end of it. The hotel's temperature would be raised to 85 or 90 degrees, turning the rooms into sweat cages. Gene alleges he also added extra heaters to raise the temperature even higher. People would struggle to breathe because the air was so dense and suffocating. Deal takes a step further, challenging the notion that these heinous hotel experiences were restricted to Cassie or Diddy alone. He demonstrates what many people suspected, but no one wanted to confirm. This was not just a single victim or person. It was a system that was much wider than anybody anticipated.
I can't believe that this individual put those people, and the hotel people saying it wasn't always Cassie. It was other people. They said it wasn't always Cassie. It was different people. And they also said it wasn't always Diddy under that boy company that was doing it.
According to Gene, hotel personnel indicated that Cassie wasn't always engaged. There were other women with other names and looks, but the same extreme setup. And here's the twist. Diddy wasn't always in charge of the performance. At times, others operated under the bad boy flag, leaving his name out of the papers. That is not anarchy. It is measured distance, a method to enjoy access while staying clean on paper. What do you believe was concealed in plain sight?
So what do you think? Drop your thoughts in the comments section below. And if you don't want to miss out on the hottest celebrity news, make sure to subscribe to Daily Finder.